Hi, I'm Rob, and today we're at the Boars Head in Meonstoke. Boars Head's a 16th century pub, lovely position by the river in Meonstoke. Meonstoke is a very special place for me, and I'll explain more during the walk. So we start our walk from the side of the Boars Head, turning left down the lane. Now we're heading to St Andrew's Church, but we can't miss the opportunity to walk across Church Green and down by the river. River Meon is a lovely chalk stream. It runs about 22 miles from round East Meon and goes down through Titchfield and enters the Solent at Meon Shore. As you can see, there's steps down if you want to go for a paddle, if your dog wants to go for a paddle. Lovely area, benches to sit and have a picnic. But we're going to go and see if we can have a look at St Andrew's. Well, St Andrew's is a 13th century church. It's Grade 2 listed, and the tower was built in the 15th century. But the crowning glory, that lovely, almost cupola-like affair on the top, believe it or not, was not built until the 20th century. It's a very, very pretty church. And I think it's open, so we'll have a look inside. And it's just as pretty inside as it is outside. And don't forget your donation. So, leaving St Andrew's behind, we're going to take the footpath through the churchyard on the left. And at the end of the path, we're going to turn right into a small lane. And at the junction with Rectory Lane, we're turning left. At the junction, we're going to continue right, and we're going to follow the South Downs Way. So at this point we come off of the South Downs Way and we're heading up the no-through road towards Chavard's Farm. You can see the remains of an old railway bridge on our right, and there'll be more about that in a moment. But first of all, we're going to head off to Chavard's Farm. Over the fields there, the distinct shape of Old Winchester Hill, and that's got Bronze Age hill forts on it. We're not going up there today, which I'm pleased about because it's quite warm today. Probably too warm for my my hoodie, but I'm persevering. And here we are at Chavard's Farm, and our track turns off to the left. So a little bit more about the area before we disappear off down the track, and Chavard's Farm is quite integral to that story. Of course, there's been habitation here since Neolithic times, through the Bronze Age with the barrows up on Old Winchester Hill, through to the Romans. Then after the Romans left, there was a power vacuum, and that was filled in the 6th century by the Jutes. After the Jutes, of course, came the Anglo-Saxons, then the Normans, and so on till modern times. Now, Anglo-Saxons are integral to the story of this farm. There have been several archaeological digs here, 60s and 70s, but in the late 90s they discovered that Chavard's farm was on the site of a quite substantial Anglo-Saxon burial ground. Anyway, carry on our walk. We're going left down the track. So I've come a little bit off of route because there's a lovely view of the river and a ford here, and I walk back the other way. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Yeah, don't fall in, that'll make it a completely different video altogether. Gorgeous. Have a look at all my videos and see how many articles of clothing you can see hanging on the bushes. It's usually pants, somehow I don't know how they get there, but this time it's one single solitary glove, which I think is the saddest of all because you've then got one useless one. We've backtracked down the path, just had to do that. It was lovely seeing the horse going through the ford like that. It's quite a deep ford as well, but our path proper on the route takes us across this little footbridge to walk alongside the stream. And soon this gnarly rooty path brings you to the old railway line. Now we take these steps up onto the bridge and turn right. So this brings us onto the Meon Valley Trail. That's a trail that we've walked parts of on several walks, as the old railway line was 22¼ miles long and the trail covers a lot of it. It's shared with cyclists, horse riders, but it's a lovely trail. At this point it's also part of the South Downs Way. So we've come up the steps and we're heading south. So as I was saying, the railway line was 22¼ miles long. It went from Knoll Junction near Fareham, off of the Eastleigh to Fareham branch line, all the way to Alton, where it joined up with the main line and the Watercress line and the Basingstoke Light Railway. It opened in 1903. It continued for several years until 1955 when it closed to passengers, and then in 1968 it closed completely. It follows much of the route of the River Meon, hence the name the Meon Valley Line, and it was built by the London and South Western Railway. One of its claims to fame were the Cadbury's Milk Tray advert that some of you may remember, with the Action Man hero. Jumped off a railway bridge onto the top of a moving train. Well, that was actually filmed on this line. Not on this part of the line, that was further towards Alton. There have been several attempts to reopen it over the years, and it's categorised as a priority 2 for reopening, but really with this trailway here I don't see it happening anytime soon, that's for sure. Further down the line there was a meeting prior to D-Day with Winston Churchill, Jan Smuts, who's the South African Prime Minister of the time, and a chap called Mackenzie King, who was the Canadian Prime Minister, and they were planning D-Day there. They weren't planning it with Eisenhower in the railway carriage, in the siding. That's a sort of bit of folklore that isn't true. What they were actually doing was deciding on their position before moving down to Southwark House, where Eisenhower had his headquarters. We were really fortunate that the County Council had decided to turn this line and many others in Hampshire into trailways, because it would be grown over and lost forever otherwise. Some of the line in between Farringdon and East Meon is a bit grown over, and you can't use it, and the trailway doesn't form part of that bit of the line. There's also a tunnel which would have been lovely to go through, but that doesn't form part of the trailway either. The only thing is the tunnel, they used that just after the line closed to grow mushrooms in for a long time. Now at this point they've demolished the bridge, so we have to use the steps to go down onto the lane, cross over the lane, and then we go back up onto the line again. A shame about the bridge. I don't know why they took it down, probably because it became too dangerous perhaps. What a lot of effort and investment for something that lasted 60 odd years. But well built, still standing there. And still the bracket for the old telegraph wires. Now, one of the reasons I was saying that Meonstoke is so special to me is because it aroused my interest in camping and walking and the outside in general. And that bracket has something to do with it. First came camping with the cubs, I think it was about 1970. The line had only been closed 2 years, so it looked pretty much as it did when the trains are running. I don't think it had track though. But there were some ceramic connectors for the wires on that bracket then. For some reason that stuck in my memory and caught my imagination. And I've loved camping ever since. You know, if you're not involved with the Scouts or Guides as a youngster, you're missing out on an awful lot. And also as an adult, it's nice to give something back and perhaps volunteer as a leader, because I know they're very short of leaders, both Scouts and Guides. Yeah, so I was in the 11th Eastleigh, long time disbanded, but recently reformed. So thank you Arkayla and Baloo. Only remember your cub names. But then in Scouts there was Jim Clark, Dave Maybe, and my good friend Barry Kitchen. You made a mark on people's lives. You certainly made a mark on my life, in a good way. And that sound's a part of it as well. Sound of a rookery, fantastic sound. And this must replace another bridge, something a little more modern. Ah, good grief, I got the wrong bridge, it's this one. And the ceramics are still on the telegraph wire brackets. Fantastic. Didn't have all the graffiti on then. That's quite arty graffiti. We went to hit the open road to find peace in this broken land. Planes dropped paper bombs and died rain. Not long till the rocks rock. What? Good grief. I'm sure somebody thinks it's arty. That's a fantastically deep cutting. So there's the exciting bridge, and a 10-year-old Rob would have clambered up through this path, which we're going to walk down now, from his cub camp at Meonstoke House, which I'll show you in a moment. So Meonstoke House today is behind the hedges and the walls. It's a Grade 2 early 18th century Georgian house, and it stands in 32 acres of grounds, which the very kind lady in 1970 used to allow Scouts and Cubs to camp on. And that's where we were. We were over there in those grounds somewhere, on the banks of a stream. We looked over the Meon Valley. We could hear the hounds early in the morning out riding. It was a magical place. One funny incident actually. We were woke in the middle of the night. We had 2 patrol tents, and I was in one, and we heard a hell of a commotion going on in the other, so we poked our heads under the sodcloth, and the other tent was completely lit up, and there were bodies dancing around in there, and the silhouette of a bat flying around. So I don't know who must have been more scared, the bat that had gone into the tent or the 6 or 7 cubs that were in there. Anyway, magical days, and affected my life, all my life. Tell a lie, it's actually 34 acres. So after coming off the Meon Valley Trail, we crossed the road in front of Meonstoke House to take the footpath along its boundary. Mark Cooper, Gary Firth, I'm sure you were on that camp. And that, I think, is the spot down there by the river. I remember climbing about 30 foot up a tree onto a rope aerial runway, which went down over the river and landed in the stinger beds if you were lucky on the other side. If you weren't lucky, you'd break your legs from the tree or you'd fall in the river. So stings were the lesser evil, but hey, that was scouting in the 1960s and 70s. And we passed Meonstoke Church of England School as we make our way back into the village. Well, that's a little play area for the kids. I love a bit of arboretia, especially with bees on. So you notice there's not a lot of thatch in the village, and that's probably down to the big fire it had many years ago. So the name Meonstoke, it comes from the Meon tribe, who are a Jutish tribe, and it also comes from the Anglo-Saxon, the Stoke part of it at least. So we've got some tree surgeons at work up in the tree, and that's a way up too. There's a good old postie on his rounds. And we just keep moving forward through the village. Look at that arboretia, how beautiful with the daffodils. And that little triangle on the finger post, we're turning left towards Hampshire and Bishop's Waltham, which will take us down to the pub. So we quite often mention the Domesday Book when we visit old villages like this, and the Meonstoke's a funny one because it was split into different manors, and some manors were in the Domesday Book but others weren't because they were the property of the Crown, Edward the Confessor to be precise, and it was passed on down until eventually it was gifted to the Bishop of Winchester, who then gifted it to Winchester College, who I believe still own much of the land now. Very surprising, notable former resident of Meonstoke is the singer-songwriter Frank Turner, and he actually references the village in one of his songs, whose title escapes me, but a Google search will give you the answer to that. Anyway, there's the pub, and I'm heading back to it. So just while we're walking, a funny incident. In the aforementioned cub camp, we all trooped down to the village on the Sunday with our money to phone our parents at home if our parents have phones, or to phone the neighbour that had the phone. Now, we'd been trained how to use a phone box, because that's what Cubs and Scouts did then, but the phone box they had in this village was a very old one that some of the very older viewers might remember. They had the press A and press B buttons in them. Total confusion. Poor old Arcala. But eventually everyone got their phone calls made and all was well. Anyway, we're going to find out a little bit more about the pub. And those of you under 30, I'll leave scratching your heads wondering why you had to have a box to use a phone. So here we are, we're back at the Boars Head, back down memory lane for me. It's been a super 4-mile walk, and I recommend it to anybody. Come and have a meal and a wander around the village. You can make it longer, you can make it shorter, you can go to Winchester Hill, you can extend it off to Exton, which again is another lovely village. But do come along, it is lovely. And anyway, if you enjoyed the walk, please like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed it or not, let's go in the pub. So this covered area is a new addition since the last time I came to the pub, but it's under new ownership now. The people that own this are the same people that own the Shoe in Exbury. It's got the lovely little garden next to St Andrew's Church Green. And of course, next to the River Meon. I think there's anything more lovely than sitting here with a drink on a warm summer's evening. Nice cup of coffee.
110 degrees.
Nice place to sit after a long walk, have something to eat and drink. So they also make pizza in the pub. #1 Italian pizza ingredient providers, and it looks very scrummy too. Let's have a look and see how it's made. Scrummy pizza. So I'm in this lovely garden of the Boars Head in Meonstoke with the manager Liam Pearson. Hello Liam.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. So this is a great area for walking and cycling and so on, Liam. So tell us a little bit about the pub and perhaps about the local area and what sort of routes and things wind through here.
Well, we're up the South Downs Way, so that's normally speaking it would take 6 days to walk the South Downs Way, and we've also taken part in the King Alfred's Way, so a 350 kilometre cycle. Really nice route. The pub is a 16th century pub. Behind us here you can see the Anglo-Saxon church, right by Meon Valley River here as well.
So I believe you've got some rooms as well for walkers that are sort of part way along the routes and things.
We have, so we've got 5 B&B rooms. There's 3 doubles, 2 twins. We are designed to cater for walkers, so we've got boot dryers and all stone flooring, so you don't have to worry about those muddy boots. Outside taps, and we're completely dog friendly.
Oh, that's great. And I was speaking to Patrick earlier, the owner, and he's saying you've got some plans for the rooms as well?
Yeah, they're going. Well, they're undergoing a refurb from the 4th of April. It's going to take about 3 weeks to take the rooms to the next level, with possibly a hot tub fitted outside as well, to really have a nice tranquil garden for the walkers after their long days.
That's lovely. Well, it's a beautiful pub, and
thank you very much.
I've enjoyed the pizza and the cup of coffee.
We can't forget the Valoriani pizza oven.
Thank you very much.
No worries, thank you.